Hi guys, this is Hersh Bhardwaj, and this is another lesson. We're going to be presenting you with the poems of Philip Larkin for the UPSC syllabus. And this is lesson number 4 in the English literature mains syllabus completion that I'm trying to do. And hopefully, we'll cover the entire syllabus quickly. These are short and precise videos, just uh, um, aimed to get you going in the right direction. You can always ask me questions in the comments and reach out to me via my email, which is upsc.english at gmail.com. So in the poems of Philip Larkin, the poems are quite small, short, and definitely one question will come in all probability, and you can also get the contextual explanation in the compulsory question. And so it's a good return of investment if you try to remember all the 5 poems. They're quite small, as I said. So Mr. Philip Larkin, and one more thing, he's not like Auden and Yates in terms of using a lot of external allusions and references, and you don't have to worry too much about the mythology part as you have to do in Auden and Yates or T.S. Eliot. So Philip Larkin, born 1922, died 1984-85, and he went to Oxford to study English. He did very well. Then post education, he worked as a librarian, starting off by working in a small village somewhere in England, and then he worked at Queen's University Belfast, that's in Northern Ireland, and then University of Hull. And so he was, and that's where when he started working as a librarian, that's when he started writing and he got fame. And these are the 5 poems in the syllabus: Deceptions, Days, Afternoons, Next Please, and Mr. Bleaney. Deceptions is particularly important because it ties in with an episode from the Victorian era, and there has been a question in UPSC where they have weaved in Tess of D'Urberville with the deception. So the Tess character in the Tess of D'Urberville by Thomas Hardy. So they have UPSC has tried to weave in the two, the character in the victim in the poem Deceptions, and Tess and the state of Tess of D'Urberville. So that's why Deceptions is important. Rest of the poems are quite straightforward. So these are the two important quotes that you can remember. Eric Homburger described him as the saddest heart in the post-war supermarket. This quote has actually come as a question in UPSC, and UPSC asked why and what do you think why he's the saddest heart in the post-war supermarket. And this is the primary concept about Philip Larkin. So you need to understand why he's the saddest heart, why he's the pessimist, what are his themes, right? What are his areas of interest? What are his frameworks? So the saddest heart in the post-war supermarket. And then Charles Tomlinson, another big critic, said of Larkin's writing that it shows a tenderly nursed sense of defeat. So you can use both of these quotes in your answers if you attempt Larkin's answers. They're very good quote, very well renowned. And as I said, the first one has actually come as a question. There is a probability that the second one can also come. So remember these quotes, quite reflective of Larkin's poems. Now, to understand his pessimism and disillusionment, which are his two major areas of interest. Funny that I'm saying it, that there are areas of interest. So this is where he comes from. So you have to remember that he was born in 1922, post First World War, and then he grew up in decades where the mood in Europe and the political and the socio-politics of Europe was very, very unstable, and there was an overall overarching melancholy everywhere. So that is the kind of era he grew up in, and then he saw the Second World War, the impending build up of the Second World War, and the post after effects of the second aftermaths of the Second World War. So it's quite fair to say that it was an overall disturbing phase in the Europe's history. So that is one of the reason of his deep sense of pessimism and disillusionment. And so I'll just go through point by point. Lack of religious faith. He did not have any religious faith. So that meant that he had nothing to fall back on in the times of gloom and worry. So there was no absolute authority that he could look up to and be cheerful or optimistic about. So there is this famous poem, Church Going, talks about it. Then his bleak view about the end of human life. So he always is obsessed with death, and even a lot of poets who talk about death, they consider death as is the brighter point in the human life, the suffering of human life. But Larkin does not think so. He thinks even death is not beautiful. And the third point here is pointlessness of the struggle and irony of all effort. So this pointlessness of all the struggle and the whole uselessness of it, or the futility of this, is very much reflected in the poems Next Please and Afternoons. They both are in the syllabus. So when you'll read it, this is what comes across. Then there is this perpetual awareness of death in all aspects of life. This and the next one, pessimism with the passage of time. So this perpetual awareness of death is you can see it in the poem Next Please, where the last stanza talks about the black ship, which is the only reality. So the only ship moving towards us with certainty is that black ship, which is death. So he's constantly, perpetually aware of the death, that death is looming all the time, which is quite representative of the mood of the people who were living in a Europe that was always moving towards another war. Then he was also pessimistic about the passage of time. So days, and which is in the syllabus. And Next Please, you will see that the passage of time and the waiting for something good to happen, that's not part of Larkin's philosophy. He does not believe that if you wait long enough, good things will happen to you. Good things won't happen to you. That's what he seems to say in Next Please and Days. And in the days, he says, where else do you live but in the days? So you can't expect the next moment to bring happiness or a better time. And the moment after moment you spend waiting, and then the final black ship comes and gets you. And Mr. Bleaney, which is another poem in the syllabus, and Deceptions, they talk about the bleakness of the urban living and the urban society. And this has been one of his favorite themes again. His famous poem, Ambulance is also talking about the bleakness of the urban setting, which is again a modernist theme where the disillusionment and the despondency about the modern society, with its sham vanity and its forced ignorance of the actual realities. So he's not very excited about the urban living or the urban life that the Europe was trying to piece together before and after the Second World War. So these are some of his themes that you can quite easily pick in one of these five poems. So as I said, the primary concept with Philip Larkin is that you have to understand how you can write 200 to 300 words in support of this quote which says the saddest heart in the post-war supermarket. Why is he a sad heart? Why his themes are pessimistic and disillusionment and all the negative things? Why? So how do you support your answer quoting from your poems in the syllabus and his overall understanding of life, how his approach is? So it's quite straightforward compared to Auden and Yates, and I'll try to make another lesson and read all those five poems and see if we can find a theme, a common theme of pessimism and disillusionment in his poetry, and see why he is the saddest heart in the post-war supermarket. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Until next time.